Hello, welcome to Curious to Inspire. I am your host, Naila. This is actually we're back on the second season. And today I'm so happy. I am joined by my friend Peggy. Now, Peggy and I, just to share, we met when we both lived in Washington State. We both lived on JBLM and we ended up going to the same church. So we went to church together and we used to meet and go walk. And y'all gonna hear from her in a short while, but I used to love listening to Peggy. We would walk and she would talk, and I think she has such a beautiful and warm voice and just a lot of wisdom. And I used to enjoy walking and talking with her. And so I was glad to learn that she is in Texas like I am. And so I'm here in her beautiful home today. So it's a different scenery. And so just thank you, Peggy, for agreeing to do
no
this.
problem. No problem.
Welcome to the show. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
How
Thank
are you feeling today?
I feel good. I went to the gym this morning, so I'm feeling real good.
Good.
I'm good.
That's good. Okay.
The weather is beautiful outside, so I can't complain. It was storming here last night, so you know how that goes. Was it storming there?
It was. It was raining Thursday night. And so you're right. Driving up here, it was nice. You know, they would have short sleeve shirt on still. Yeah. So
But I'm glad to see you. I mean, I'm happy to see you.
yeah,
It's always a pleasure.
it is. It is because I've missed, when we used to get together.
Yep, we used to always get together and talk, and sometimes we go to lunch and
shopping. And
yeah.
I missed that, so I'm just glad that we ended up. We're not, we're about 2 hours apart, but where
it's close enough to where we can
get together.
Get together.
Yeah, so it's good. Okay, well, Peggy, so what this show is about is just trying to inspire people by just sharing people's stories, and I never want to know what people are going to talk about ahead of time.
Right.
And so it's just really whatever is on your heart. I know you're a praying woman, a woman of faith. So just whatever is on your heart to share that could be an inspiring message for someone or maybe a pivotal moment in your life.
I do know I love the Lord, and I do I always think back, over my life, all the things that I've been through, and I thank God that I don't look like what I've been through. But life was not. I came from humble beginnings, so I'm grateful to God, for bringing me this far. And um, I know the Word tells you that Psalms 139:14 says that you're fearfully and wonderfully made. So I always keep that in the back of my mind, when I meet people and they're not, the nicest people, or they don't, really care for me. Because, sometimes the Spirit knows the Spirit, and the Holy, when you speak with people, where I can kind of almost tell where they are as far as their walk with Christ is concerned. And I try to approach people, try to meet people where they are, so that I don't offend anybody. But the word is offensive for some people that don't know who God is, and so you have to approach them, in a special way, in a certain way. And I've learned over the years that everybody's not going to like you. Everybody's not going to like you. You can't make them. They meet you and they don't like you. Sometimes it's just the look. They don't like the look. And you can't. You can't do well on that. You have to. My thing is you have to, just let them not like you. Be determined. If they're determined to not like you, be determined to not care about how much they don't like you. And I'm comfortable with myself because I know who I am and whose I am. So I always and growing in grace with God, I've learned that everybody's not going to like you. So it's just That's just people, and people be being people, and life be life, and
And
so.
people be people.
So I love everybody. I might not like everybody, but I love everybody because the word of God says to love everybody. Love your neighbors, and love your neighbors as you love yourself. And but most importantly, love God. So that that takes me a long way. And I try not to lose sleep over people that don't care for me, because I know, people will be people, and everybody's not gonna like you. So, you know, I'm okay with that. Even, when you growing up, you meet people, and we were just talking about that, how you grow when you're growing up, you meet people that that know you from one way, and then they don't want to change. They want to stay the same, and they think you're still the same. But I have been through a lot when it comes to my walk with the Lord. It hasn't always been that tight. So I'm kind of like, now I know who I am and whose I am, and I'm comfortable with me. And I love me, and because you got to love yourself first. Yeah. And I love myself. Maybe sometimes too much. But you can't give love if you don't have it. And I love everybody, and I that's what I try to do. I try to love everybody, and people that don't receive it, I do like the Bible says. I dust my feet off and keep, dust it off my feet and keep going, because life is too short to be worrying about other people and what they think about you. I don't. That's not me. I try to love everybody, and I try to give love. I try to spread the love of Jesus every day, and that makes me comfortable. I sleep good at night because I know I did my best to love everybody. I do my daily devotions in the mornings, and I try not to ever miss that, because if I miss that, then my day is off. My day, when I before I go in my office to work, I always try to reverence God in the mornings. I have a room in my one of my bedrooms I use as my prayer closet, and I just I have to talk to God. And you know where you are when you're talking to God. Where your day is gonna go good. Well, and maybe not so good, but you didn't talk to God, so and God knows God got you. You know what I'm saying? You know He got you. So you know, I love the Lord. That's just, that's me. That's my that's me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You make some great points, Peggy. And like when you were speaking about how not everybody's gonna like you,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a saying that I had heard, so I use it often. Like, you're not gonna be everybody's cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
too, what you spoke about when you said, you may not like somebody, realize how somebody, or why somebody is the way they are. And I
Mm-hmm.
know it was something that I recently kind of had to realize in the past
Mm-hmm.
year,
Mm-hmm.
is really because it's biblical. How it's not the person, it's the spirit on them,
That's
right?
correct. That's so right.
And
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of the Bible verse right now, but the
Mm-hmm.
one, we we're fighting, not against
Flesh
flesh,
and blood.
but we
Mm-hmm.
fight
But against
principalities
palaces,
and everything.
yes,
And I
have
try to
rulers in
be,
dark places.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
try to be
Mm-hmm.
mindful that when,
Mm-hmm.
I have a challenging,
Mm-hmm.
it's one thing if it's a personal, somebody in my person, I can decide to deal or not deal in a
Mm-hmm.
way, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But if
Mm-hmm.
it's work, sometimes you have to deal with a person because that's where you work.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think what's helped me is to say, okay, this is a spirit. This is
Mm-hmm.
still they're still a child of God though,
That's
but
right.
they are a
Mm-hmm.
spirit. And
Mm-hmm.
let me deal with, and just
Mm-hmm.
recognize what
Mm-hmm.
that is. But like
Mm-hmm.
you said, you still
Mm-hmm.
love everybody.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think that's great,
Mm-hmm.
great points that you made. And
Mm-hmm.
just about, like you say, you have to love yourself first, or you
Mm-hmm.
won't be able
Mm-hmm.
to love others.
Yep, that's true. And sometimes even with work, and when you come across people that that's kind of hard to deal with, I talk to the Lord about it. I always, talk to God about it and ask Him, how do you want me to handle this? Because self will rise up and, say some stuff that you shouldn't say. And when I talk to God about it, even with my in my marriage, I've learned to talk to God about certain things, before I talk to my husband about it. And that's what I do with I try to, do that with my job, with my kids. I try to make sure that I talk to God first before I start a conversation with them, especially if it's a hard conversation. If it's a hard conversation, I always ask God to give me the words to say and help me to keep my big mouth shut if I'm, if it's not for me to say. And God always give me the right words to say. And sometimes He'll just say, just don't say anything, just be quiet, because you know life is hard enough than to be talking to people and saying stuff that you can't take back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I have to be very careful what I say, especially to my husband. And it'll be 18 years we've been married in December the 8th. And it's, people say, oh, it's been good. It's been good, but it's been some bad times too. We do have some, we've had some rough times, but I think the older you get, the more, you understand things. You understand people. And you never get to learn your spouse the way you always learning something new. Because you're different. You're growing. And you know, and you can't make people be what you want them to be. You have to accept people as they are, and that's what love is. Love is
So true.
love is unconditional. If you love people, you have to take the good with the bad. And I could have gave up a long time ago with my marriage because we've been through a whole lot. But God, God has. If you don't have God in your marriage, it's because it's going to take God to keep it together. Where if what God has joined together, let no man pull it apart. It's going to take God to keep you in that, because you're two different people. You're a female and he's a male. Well, for the most part.
Yeah, yeah.
And you think differently. You can't think like he think. He's not going to think like you think. Because we think with our women think with their heart, men think with their head. So you have to be very careful. And they have feelings too. Like we're so emotional. They have emotions and feelings too.
Yeah.
So you have to be real careful what you say to them. And I'm learning, and I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I'm still learning how to, deal with my husband, because it's you have to pray. You have to stay praying. If people say, "Oh, I want to be married." Well, you make sure you got your knee pads on, because you're gonna definitely have to stay on your knees, because marriage shows you who you are. It shows you who you are and what you're made of. Because if it was easy, if it was that easy, then everybody would be doing it. Everybody is not married, because everybody's not meant to be married. Marriage is not for everybody. And if you're gonna be selfish, you can't be married and be selfish. That don't work. When people say, let's 50-50. No, it's not 50-50. Sometimes you're giving 80 and he's giving 20. Sometimes you're giving 80. Sometimes it's reversed. Sometimes you're giving 50 and he's giving 50. It just depends on the situation, and people don't always have to. Marriage is not 50-50. Now people say that, but that's not. It's not 50-50. And a real man gonna take care of his family. Real men don't love Jesus.
Say that, Peggy. Say it.
Real men love Jesus, and real men don't look for women to what they can bring to the table. They would like that, but a real man takes care of his family. And he's not looking for 50-50. Not a real man. Now they got some out there that do, but that's not biblical. A man takes care of his household, and that's why wife reverence her husband as the priest of her household because he makes sure that she's taken care of because he don't want her going looking nowhere else for nobody else to take care of her. He makes sure she have everything she needs and some of the things she want. That's what real men do. Real men love Jesus, and if you love Jesus, you're gonna follow his commandments and keep his commandments. And the word tells you you're supposed to love your wife the way Christ loves the church. And if you're doing that, you could who can go wrong? Yeah. So I'm like, you know, uh, it's my second marriage. Yes, this is my second marriage, but I know, but I knew what I was looking for. In a man when I met my husband. I wanted someone that was going to love God and again love me the way Christ loves the church. And that for the most part, it's been that way. It's been good. I mean, we have our spats every now and then, but for the most part, we we like each other. we like each other for the most part.
Y'all are a beautiful couple.
Thank you so much. Yeah, he keeps me laughing, and as long as he keeps me laughing, I think I'll be good. We'll be good. Because we done told each other that it's no we don't have any choice but to love each other. It's no he told me when he first asked me to marry him that divorce was not in the picture. We're not doing that. He said, this was forever. And I said, yep, it's forever because that was my second marriage and it was his first. So we was like, we're just gonna stick it out. We're gonna work through it. And I give sometimes when I don't want to give. Sometimes he gives when he don't want to give. So it makes us come to a happy medium together, and that's the way it should be because everybody is not going to be what you want them to be. You can't make somebody be, especially grown people. You can't make a grown person be what you want them to be. They're already grown. I'm not raising no grown man, and he's not raising no grown woman. We're two grown people. So we try to treat each other with respect and like we're both grown people. We talk. You have to talk about it. Anything that's going on in that you feel is a problem or maybe a burden or not a burden, maybe even a concern. You need to talk about it and have a conversation because that's the only way you're going to understand and know what that person is thinking if you have a conversation with them. And I'm not never lost for words.
But that's what I enjoy about you, Peg. I mean, when we used to go walk, sometimes we'll walk for 2 hours.
We would walk
a long
yep,
time.
We walked to that gate.
Yeah,
walked to the gate and back.
And it was about 2 hours. Like we walked 2 hours maybe plus, and but I just always enjoy listening to you. You know what I mean? And I can just be a listener, and I just enjoy. And your voice, it's a voice that I could always listen to. But you really spoke a lot of great gems, if they call them, Peggy, about marriage. Really a lot of, I don't talk about, and I won't talk too much, but, I did mention once, I don't get into it, but, I am divorced. I was married and divorced. But, I can definitely, looking back, I can definitely, just the things that you were speaking of, realizing that's a grown person, and if y'all come together, and you're right, your relationship is a reflection of you. You will see you and grow yourself in that, or you'll see the true you. Is what I say. I did learn that. But anyway, you had a lot of great wisdom, and I don't know what God's plans are for me, as far
Right.
marriage in the future or anything again. But yeah, those are some great words of wisdom that you just gave.
Yeah, I think when people meet when you meet a person and you're not married, you have to ask yourself, do I like this person? Do I like them enough to where if they get on my nerves, because they will get on your nerves, and you're gonna get on their nerves, Do I like them enough to where I want to stay? I mean, I can't stand to be without them. I know that. And is this my purpose? Is this my purpose partner? And have a conversation with God about it. First and foremost. If that, like I think I told you this once before. I said, if you meet a person and they're not talking to God on a daily basis, then that might not be the person for you. Because most people, if love the Lord and they having a conversation with God every day, they're not gonna treat you any kind of way. They're gonna love you like Christ loved the church. And I tell my daughters that you are the prize. Because a man that findeth a wife finds a good thing. And if he feel you are his good thing, he's not gonna treat you any kind of way. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, I tell my daughters that them two ones, my oldest one is married, but my two younger daughters, they're not married, and I always tell them, I say, you are the prize. You don't have to chase behind a man, because men is the hunters. They hunt. They don't want you chasing them. A man that if he's worth anything, he's not going to have you chasing him. He's going to let you know if you are the one. You don't have to guess about it. He's going to tell you, I'll let you know you're the one. You don't have to be, putting on any airs or changing the way you are. Be yourself. And if he's for you and you're for him, God will let you know that that's your husband. He'll drop it in your spirit, and he'll drop it in his spirit. You all gonna come on one accord and come together. That's that. That's the way I look at it, because as a Christian woman, I that's the way I try to talk to my girls. You don't have to chase behind a man, because they're the hunters. I tell that to them all the time. I think they got it now. I think they got it. I really do. I think they got it, because, and I tell them, love yourself and take care of yourself. And if you want a husband, you have to be wife material. You have to carry yourself like a wife. Even if you're not married, if you want a husband, most men that's marriage material, they'll see it in you. If you want to be a wife. Let me just tell you this story. When I met my husband, I wasn't saved. Well, I was saved, but I was still, in the world too. I was doing, flip flopping. And when I met my husband, he, he was in the Marine Corps, and he was a recruiter, so he was always gone. And I, you know, I knew I liked him. He knew he liked me. We met over the phone, and we didn't see each other for meet each other in person for like 2 weeks. But when we met, I think we kind of hit it off, and we knew that we liked each other like that. Just by the conversations we had 2 weeks prior over the phone, and we had good conversation was good for both of us. But I said all that to say that he was recruiting, and I didn't see him that often. And as a matter of fact, before we decided that we was going to actually be together, like it was how they say it, exclusive. We decided we hadn't talked in about a month, and I was like, because in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, maybe he found somebody else, and I was okay. I mean, I at that point, I did have a relationship with God. It wasn't as tight as it is now, but I had a relationship with God. So I was like, if he is the person for me, Lord, let me know he's the person for me. So and I backed off for like a month. I didn't call him, he didn't call me. And I want to say it was like he called me like a month later, and I was surprised to hear from him. But that's when we started talking again, and we decided that we was going to try to make it work. With each other, we was going to be exclusive. So and he went over to Okinawa, Japan for a year. And when he came back, because we had communicated all that time, and he did come back in 6 months. He came back and to see, and we got together, and we saw each other. And then when he went back to Okinawa for the next 6 months, when he came back, we decided that we was going to we was gonna be each other for each other. We decided that that we wanted to get married. That's the yeah. He said that you're the one, and I didn't have to guess about it. He told me, he said, you're the one. I said, okay. So and then we kept seeing each other, and it was 2 years later when I got my ring. Because I kept thinking about it, and I kept saying, okay. And let me just say this also. When I read this book, and this is a good book for anybody. You can be married, you can be divorced, you can be single, male or female. This is a really good book. It's by Elizabeth George. It's a book called A Woman After God's Own Heart. Very good book. And I was telling, I let a lady at work years ago. I gave it to her after I got through reading it, and I never got it back. But but I was telling her, I said, I was reading, I was almost done with that book when my husband asked me to marry him, and formally. When the day I got my ring, I was almost done with that book. And my husband came. He was in Chesapeake, Virginia, and I was up at Quantico, in Northern Virginia. And he said, "I'm on my way." He said, "You want to go to breakfast?" And I was like, "Okay." Usually he would call me and tell me he was coming before he get there. He said, "I'm 10 minutes out." I was like, "Oh my goodness!" I hadn't got up and went to the gym, and got back home, and I was dressed. So I was still reading that book. So when he got to my house, he said, "What are you reading?" I said, "It's this good book by Elizabeth George." I said, "It's a book called A Woman After God's Own Heart." He said, "Does it teach you how to love your husband and how to be a good wife to your husband?" And I looked at him. I said, "Yes, it's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was telling me." I mean, in the book, it breaks it down for you. It's a really good book. So that day, I got my ring. I got my ring, the whole set, and I've been having it ever since. I've been wearing it ever since. Yeah. But that's a really good book, and I would. If you
probably told me about that. I need to get
I
that
think
book.
I told you about that book. I did.
It.
I think I did tell you about that. And when we was with all our walks and talks.
Yes, yes. So I'll be sure to link it in the description of this video.
Yeah, it's a really good, and it's good read. It's a really good read. So I would encourage people to, if even if you're married, it's a really good book. If you haven't read it already, because it was one of the best sellers. And this was back in 2006. Okay. Because I got it. We got engaged in July, and we got married in December of 2006. But I was reading that book when my husband, was my boyfriend at the time, when he asked me to marry him. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. That's good. Thank you for sharing that. This is a great message. This is not a message that has been talked about on this channel, this show. That's a good message, Peggy. Pivoting to that subject about you know choosing a mate and seeking God. And I love everything that you said, but I really love when you said really ask that person, see what their walk with God is. Are they talking to God every day?
Mm-hmm.
Because if he's
Mm-hmm.
talking to God every day, then
Mm-hmm.
that'll be an indicator of how he's going to treat you. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that was
Mm-hmm.
just great.
Yeah, they'll handle you differently.
Yeah.
And when you meet a man, and I always tell my daughters, I said, if he don't mind using foul language in front of you, you know that's not the person for you, because a man that respects you, he's gonna handle you differently, and you'll know it because he's gonna handle you tenderly. And then that's what you want. You don't want somebody that's going to come in your life and wreak havoc,
Yeah.
that you got to have drama with all the time when you first, before y'all even get married. If it's drama when you first get married, it's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse. So I tell my daughters that all the time, and you don't even entertain that. You know, it might come to you, but don't entertain it, because if you tolerate what you entertain. If you can tolerate that type of entertainment, that's not going to be good for you. So.
Hey, well, thank you, Peggy. Thank you for that wisdom. Um, so the final question I'm gonna ask, I ask everybody
Okay.
this question
hmm
is, what is your go-to form of self-care? What is self-care for you, Peggy?
Uh, I like to go get my nails done. I like to just get me a pedicure, maybe a massage. But most importantly, I like to at least go on at least one vacation a year. Something that if not two. Mm. I like I like a good vacation somewhere I can go relax and you know maybe put my feet in the sand, even though I don't swim. But I do like to I like to just go somewhere and relax, and all inclusive, so I don't have to do too much, but get up and get dressed and go to brunch. And I like to work out. I like to and like I said this morning, I got up and went to the gym and worked out for a little bit, and I like to work out. I mean, my body it needs it. I think I ran Monday evening. I did three and a half miles on the treadmill here in my garage. But other than that, I go to we have a membership at the gym. We go there and work out, and that relaxes me because I had a long week this week at work. So that I can unwind. If I get me a good run on and um, you know drink a lot of water, flush my system. Although this is some tea I'm drinking here now.
Tea is good.
But that's my self care, my go to. Yeah, I like to, and sometimes even I'll even go get my hair done, and I like to just relax and go take time to get my hair done. It makes me feel better. Mm. And I love Bible study. Every other Wednesday night we have Bible study at one community church. That's our church,
Okay.
and it's a church where no one walks alone. And our pastor is Pastor Conway Edwards, and our first lady is Jada Edwards, and they are awesome. I love them. I do. I love them. And the church I go to is one of our campuses. That's a sister church. Well, we're all under the same umbrella because our pastor is Pastor Conway and First Lady Jada. But my pastor here at the Garland campus is Pastor Herman Baxter and Lady Brandy Baxter, and I love them as well. We had a high time in the Lord last weekend with women's conference, unapologetic women's conference. It was awesome. I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed my daughter coming from Delaware. She came from Delaware, and we really had a good time. But it's a church. It's a really good church where they offer so many different things for children, and they Pastor Conway and Lady Jada, they it's geared towards families, and I love it. I love that church because They follow the word of God, and that's why it's so important that you know who God is and that you read the word daily for yourself, because people can be teaching and preaching one thing, but if you don't know the word,
Yeah.
they can tell you anything. And I always talk, me and my husband talk about that all the time. I said, my husband be like, "Where is that in the word?" I'm like, "It's in there. Go to that. I'll find a scripture for you." But they preach the word of God. And when I first came to Texas in 2019, looking for a house, because we retired here. Before we decided that this was the area we wanted to stay in, we had already looked at this property before they even started building on it. And when about a month later we came back looking, we looked all over the DFW, and they had to start. This was going to be a spec home. They was going to build it and just sell it.
Oh, okay.
And when they poured the concrete here, and I told my husband, I said, "Oh, they done start building on that house there." I said, "Let's go look at it. Let's go look at because they had them built they had them poured the concrete." And I said, "Let's go." I said, "I really like that area there, that because of the greenery right there on the side where the garage is right there." I said, let's go look at it." So we came in, we just kind of looked around, looked in the backyard, and backyard was pretty decent, big enough for where we could do what if we wanted to put a pool back there, we could. So I said, "Well, let's go talk to the sales agent." The sales agent was up the street. So we talked to the sales agent, and he came back and did a walkthrough with us around the perimeter. And he said, "It's a spec home, but you guys can build it like you want to." I was like, "We better get." I told my husband, I said, "We better take this because I done looked everywhere." I said, "We done looked everywhere, all over the DFW." I was so tired. Everything started running together. So I was like, "I think this is it." And my husband looked at me, and we looked at each other. We said, "Yeah, this is it." So, we did the paperwork, and we knew everything was going to be okay. And we had a budget. We didn't want to go over 600,000, so we came right under 600,000 for this house. And I was glad that we was able to get it, and we picked out everything. The brick, thank you. We picked out the brick and everything, and I praise God because this is where we were supposed to be. All that looking and looking, and we came once and looked at it, and there was nothing here, and then we came back and they had then poured the concrete. I said, "This is it," and I told my husband, I said, "This is it." So he was like, "You sure?" I was like, "Mm-hmm." He said, "Yeah, I feel the same way." So he said, "Well," and the sales agent, he was so happy. I think he was happier than we were. Oh goodness, but everything worked out the way it was supposed to, and I thank God for that. That's why I always tell I was telling you when you came. I said, people, when I tell them, when you come here, this is holy ground. You can't come here just any old kind of way. You got to come here right now. But I'm grateful for everything God has done for me, and that's doing in my life. I always ask Him to use me in any way that he needs to, because we are His instruments. We're God's instruments. We're His workmanship. So we have to, I have to, if I want to live right and do what I'm supposed to do, I have to talk to God about it first. And I had been praying and praying too before we even found this place. We had got an apartment right down the street from my daughter, because we was with her for about 2 months when we moved here, and they started building on our house in October of 2019, and they was done. We moved in April of 2020, right after right after the COVID. So we was grateful that COVID didn't hold up any of our material for the house. God is so good. God is so good. Even my with my job when I went to work for UT, they said that they needed me at the hospital. I mean, not at the hospital, at the clinic, at the women's breast cancer at the cancer center because I work for UT's um, diagnostic breast center. And they said, they wanted a patient financial advisor in house. And when they hired me, they didn't have a office for me. So I was like, the job I do, I can't be in an open area where, because of HIPAA. Well, because of HIPAA. So I was like, I'll just work from home until you guys can find me an office or find me a space. And I've been at home ever since. That's how God worked it out, though. Because I really didn't. I really wanted to work from home, and when COVID hit, they was like they kept because I was supposed to start in April, the month I moved in here. I was supposed to start, and they pushed it back a week. Then they pushed it back 2 weeks. Then they pushed it back till the beginning of May. And I was like, well, when am I gonna start? They had already got, I had accepted the offer and everything. So we just, we went. I went for my training. I had to go into the office there for my in Dallas for my training, and I sit in. Worked in the office for like I want to say 2 weeks, and they still couldn't find me an office. So I was like, okay, until you guys can find me an office, because I can't do my job, properly because I was explaining to them it's a HIPAA violation, and I said you all in healthcare you should know that. I mean I've been doing this for a long time, and I do know that patients can not only sue the clinic, the hospital, they can sue me too. If it's a HIPAA violation. I said no, I'm not going to put my career on the line. Because you guys can't find me. You hired me and can't find me an office. So they said, well, if you can work from home, go ahead and work from home. I was like, okay, I will be at home. And if you guys need me, just, and they have Teams and the phone, so, and I don't have to see patients. I'm a financial advisor. I can talk to them over the phone. They don't have to, and I got a credit card reader. Well, this is not working right now because it's a new one. They're working on it though. I checked the ticket yesterday, so they're working on it. Hopefully, they'll get me a new one or fix that one. And because it's brand new, I don't think they even know what's going on with it. But I can take payments over the phone, from home, and because that's what I had been doing with our old credit card reader. I have been, and I still got it in there, but I can't use it because it's obsolete now. We got the new one set up, but it's all good for me. It's all good. I do my job, and I know my job, and I do my job. And that's the bottom line. As long as you're doing your job, that's all that matters. That's all that should matter. Because I was telling them, I've been a manager and a supervisor, so I know, what it takes to, and I know when I'm at work, I'm here at home. I know to get my work done. I know what they expect of me. So I don't, I don't try to be doing something that I shouldn't be doing when I'm working. I even tell my husband that I'd be like, now if you're gonna be off today, honey, you can't come in this office. I'm working. Oh, you can just take a break. I'm like, listen, I know where I can take a break, and I don't need you in here with me while I'm working. And don't come knock on that door. Oh goodness. So he'll leave and come back, or he'll leave and call. Hey, you almost done with work? I'm like, no. I get off at 4:30.
That is fun. It's fun. Well, Peggy, well, close us out. Unless you have anything else? Any final thing?
No, I think we're good.
But thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. You're welcome. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, a lot of good information. And so I'm so first of all happy to see you, of course. Happy to see you and be here. But thank you so much for doing this. I
Oh, it was
definitely
my
feel
pleasure. I was looking forward to the whole week.
that's good. Definitely feel like you definitely share a lot of stuff that people see this video, be able to take from it,
I hope. I
and
hope so.
I think that, like you said, if you yield it to God and
Mhm.
what He wanted you
Mhm.
to communicate, and I think
Mhm.
it's definitely something to bless, definitely bless me,
Mhm.
and I think it definitely bless
Mhm.
others. So thank you so much,
Oh,
Peggy.
I really enjoyed it, and you're welcome. I really enjoyed myself.
Yeah.
And look,
So
even though I'm at home, I really enjoyed it.
yeah, yeah, it's all comfortable and beautiful. So this has been another episode of Curious to Inspire. Again, I am your host Naila, and my guest today, my friend Peggy. Thank you. So until the next video, bye bye.
Bye.